In this video, we'll be going through a functionality called member deposits, which is part of LS activity. So this functionality is mainly to be able to receive deposits upfront from a member, and then the member can use that deposit as payment for goods and services later on. This would be very good in situations or environments where the customer doesn't have a wallet, isn't able to have a wallet or any payment on them. So they might have a member card, or they might have a arm wristband or something that could be used to reference to their member account. So let's just go through the functionality and then go through this, what needs to be set up to put it into use. So in LS activity role center, we have the member deposit option here, and there we get a list of current member deposits. So when a member first time creates a deposit or enters a deposit into the system, then we will get them as part of this list here, and they are active as a deposit account. Also worth noting is that member account or member deposit accounts don't have to have a customer account behind registered behind the member, so it's not accounts receivables related to this. So this is kind of just a temporary deposit account for each member. So when they get registered initially with their first deposit, you would see them appearing in this list. You would notice you would get information about the last transaction date and also their balance limit. By default, they would normally get a zero balance. Basically, they would have to have a deposit to be able to use this as payment, but it is possible to set a negative balance limit, so you would allow them to actually go into credit. But this is set up as a default setup, and then this can be adjusted per member. And also here in this list, you could deactivate the account if needed. So I'm just gonna go through how the member would then pay a deposit into their account, and how you would actually then use that deposit as a payment. So let's just go through the role center and go into the point of sale. So I'm just going to open up the point of sale here, and go through the actual process of entering deposit and then use this as a payment later on. So I'll log on to the POS, and in this case I have set up this coffee house point of sale as possible to use the deposits and sell deposits. So what we need is then two POS commands, and I've set up one POS command here on this menu, sell deposit. I'm just going to show you what the setting is behind this button. So there's just one POS command here, sell member deposit, and this is just a normal sales command. So the POS needs to be in sales mode to actually be able to receive deposits. Then we can then use this deposit, and then that's a tender. So if I click at this button here, then we have another POS command called pay member deposit, and in this case I've set up the post command to be post, so the sale is just finalized, and this is just like any other tender type. So what happens if a member wants to pay a deposit and have a deposit account? I'll just start the sales process. We sell deposit, and basically I could have either swiped the member's card at that point and got the reference to their member contact information, or I could just select them from a list here. So it doesn't matter here if this member is paying the first or creating the deposit account for the first time, or if they are adding a deposit to their account. So it's the same process. Here it's Hope Williams. Just hit OK, and then I just enter the amount. She's entering into deposit, so I hit just the amount, and I get a line with the deposit, and of course an information line what member contact this is actually. So they would then have to pay the actual, in this case she's paying cash, and this would be then just going into the deposit account. So if we look at in the back, go to the back office, and we look at the member deposit list again, we have Hope here, and we see here balances here is 50. And if we drill down to the balance, we can see the entry. It's a deposit entry, this location with state at the point of sale, and the transaction involved. So I could drill down to the actual receipt at this stage if needed. So let's go back to the POS. So Hope is gonna use this deposit as a payment. So she's just getting her cafe latte, and she's getting some club sandwich. So now she wants to use her deposit. So at this point you could either swipe her member's card, or she might have a wristband where you could scan it and get the reference to her member contact. But in this case I don't have that, so I'm just going to hit pay with member deposit here. And since I haven't registered any member on this sale, it would give me a list of the member contacts. So I could search here by phone, email, birth date, whatever, and select. In this case I'm going to select Hope, hit OK, and now we see her balance. She has 15 balance, and in this case the total amount being charged is 475. So this is going to be deducted from her deposit balance. And at this point the system is checking that her balance is sufficient to cover this amount. So yes, we hit OK, and the sale is just posted like usually. So this was just like any other tender type for the POS. But if we go to the member deposits now and refresh the screen, we get here the leftover balance is 45.25, and we see now that the entry that was actually consuming part of this balance. So this concludes the overview of the functionality. So the only things needed to set this up, if we go to administration and we go to activity setup, and there's a section in the setup called member deposits. Go there, and what you need to set up is this basic information. The member deposit item, this is an item we use to actually post the initial deposit, or when the member enters deposits to their account. Then we use this item to do the postings on the POS. So this would do control any of the GL general ledger transaction definitions. Then we need to define if we're going to use the payment either as a tender type or as an item. Normally you could use this as a tender type, and that would be the recommended way, but in some countries or regions you might need to have a tax or VAT applied to these entries. So then you would probably need to use an item to have all the tax settings in place. But if you don't need that, you can just have it straightforward, a tender type, and then we just create a tender type that is going to be used as the payment tender type. Other two settings here is the balance minimum. Like I said before, by default we use 0 as the minimum balance that the member can have. But you could allow generally, or for each member, to have possible to go into negative. So that might be in the cases where where the people don't actually pay deposit up front, but actually are then finalizing afterwards when they leave the premises, for example. Then we have member deposit max amount. This is just the maximum amount allowed to deposit initially or when you renew the balance. So this concludes the overview of the member deposit functionality. Thank you.